Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am so pleased you are able to join me this fine evening. 'Tis I, the alchemist, master of my craft in this ill and festering kingdom. I know we have had to tighten our belts of late, beleaguered as the kingdom is with this unholy undead plague. But fret thee not. Thanks to my advanced alchemic practices, I will quickly reduce these undead beasts to dust. Or ashes. All of you are probably wondering, who sent these animated carrion to benight our fair kingdom? Look no further than that infamous, frivolous, and dare I say SQUAMOUS bard. Don't believe me? Do not be forgetful of his unholy uprising against our generous monarch, or the destruction caused by his feathery creature. Still think it a mystery? Very well. I shall use my Scryincence to convince all of you that not all mysteries are without facts and logic. By employing my magical hands and throwing in a pinch of sulfur for fragrance, we shall again ponder the nebulous vagaries of Ramble Shamble.
Good day, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Ramble Shamble. So, I'm joined again by my best friend and co-host, Mackie.
Oh, hello.
And today we're going to be giving you something that I hope will be, it'll be a little bit late because Halloween will have passed long ago for everyone. But I want to have a bit of a darker... I want to have a bit of a darker theme today on this episode. So, before we get started, Mackie, where can everybody find us in terms of just getting in touch?
So, guys, it's very simple. You go onto our YouTube channel called Ramble Shamble, or simply look on a Google search and type Ramble Shamble. You'll find our Discord quite easily through those two main means. You can, again, we try to post on almost every podcasting platform that you can think of. Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, all those different podcasts that I won't mention all over again because, guys, we're posting almost everywhere. Again, our Discord is our best way to chat with us. You can chat with us through YouTube, but that might be a little bit more, I'll say, messy. Discord allows you to share, play games, even join us with a podcast, or even share topic ideas. So feel free to join our little podcast, our little Discord, and, see where things go. And guys, your comments are very valuable to us because it really helps to fuel our ambitious subcategory of our main podcast called Ramble Shrapnel, which Jotun is the best at describing that.
Yes, everybody, please comment on the questions that we ask you guys and provide us some feedback on who you think had the better argument inside of the episode, because we like to take our favorites responses from the week's question and we decide to talk about that for a little bit of a shorter segment. And that's why we call it Ramble Shrapnel, because it's a little bit or a piece of the main episode. And so, yeah, we just choose that and we talk about it completely off the cuff for about 15 to 20 minutes and provide you with a little bit of insight.
You know, when you're always taking that little 15-minute break, making a sandwich or eating a sandwich, that 15 minutes can be pretty boring if you're not listening to anything.
Yeah, or it's a great thing also if you just find yourself on the toilet for a really long time. Because I know that some people get really bored in the toilets as well.
That sandwich is not going through well enough.
Okay, but yeah, that's Ramble Shrapnel. And I think we can get started on the episode. Now, Mackie, I know that you really like scary things, especially horror games, but
Mm.
what other media do you like being frightened or scared with? Or frightened by, rather?
So definitely, like, I really do like watching like SCP files and all that, like, or not just SCP, but anything really lore or mysterious related. So things that are supernatural that make me think, whoa, that could be happening or be happening around me at this present moment. Like, I remember watching a YouTuber play a particular game or watching a SCP Foundation file, and I'm like thinking, this is probably going to scar me tonight. And why am I watching this at 10 o'clock in the evening when I'm just about to go to bed? I feel like this is a bad juju kind of vibe. Fortunately, I tend to sleep quite soundly, so that's quite nice. But things, things that just scare the normal people, I don't know. I enjoy that kind of like mysterious or trying to understand what makes this creature scary.
Yeah, dude, that's the same with me as well. Like I've told everyone on this podcast before that I have pithecophobia, which is a genuine phobia of apes, and I think other primates as well, but apes in general, because they can think, dude. They plan. But anyway, sometimes every now and then I'll just decide it's time to see what new information there is on Bigfoot out there. And then I'll listen to these new Bigfoot reports and such. I think I even sent you a video earlier this year, like a few months ago. And it won't even be at nighttime, but sometimes it will be at night. And I'll just be somewhere listening to the story, and I'll just be like thinking, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? I know what this kind of thing does to me, but I'm so morbidly fascinated. I have to learn more.
100%. I've done that where but unfortunately, when things get really out there, I have the understanding at least to put it down or stop the video or whatever I'm doing. But I will say I don't like watching horror movies because I think they're too fake for me. I think because I know that everything's not quite real, but documentaries and that kind of stuff, that's the kind of stuff I can't put down. Those are the kind of things that you're like, dang, if there was some written history about this crap at one point, what if it was real? What if I am being stalked right now? What if I'm right behind you, audience, right as we speak?
Just hear some slow breathing coming from somewhere in the distant behind you. A little bit of a footstep, and then silence. A weird silence as it settles in. Okay, anyway.
But wait. But would you be the person that would open the door? That you hear scratching behind the door. Would you?
Oh, hell no. I wouldn't even peep out of a curtain, dude.
Imagine in your room right now, and say we finish our podcast, we finish chatting, put our headphones off the side, and all of a sudden you just hear scratch, 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 knock, knock, knock. I don't know what I would do. I would probably barricade that door and lock the window and just close myself in.
Definitely. Dude, I would probably turn mirrors around so that things my eyes don't play tricks on me, things like that.
Imagine seeing underneath that door you hear a sniffing sound, off that scratch, kick, knock, 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 you just hear that sniffing sound.
No, dude, that's too much. That's too much.
Oh, dude, I'm just putting myself in that state. Oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. My door is closed.
Yeah, when you feel that something's watching you and you feel the hackles, the little hairs rise on your neck as well, and then you get that chill as if there's a sudden wind that came from nowhere. Yeah, but yeah, I also get like that, dude. And it's a bit masochistic with me as well, though, because if I'm playing a survival horror game, I did this when we were also doing that a month ago or so, or 2 months. I will fully lean into the horror experience, switch off my lights, and put on my surround sound for a very high level, because I just need to immerse myself in it, because you can't do it half-assed. It's it's almost a disrespect to the game devs if you don't at least let yourself be frightened.
I can't play games in the dark. That's just weird to me. I'd put the surround sound and that kind of thing, but the light doesn't bother me that much. But yeah, I get you.
No, it's not that. It's just that I want this game world to be my whole world for the session.
Masks.
Like I don't. Yeah, exactly. But one thing I don't like about horror media nowadays is that they often have jump scares, which isn't horror. That's just giving people frights, you know?
I think it can work in like certain situations, like to raise your adrenaline. So like get that, like if things are a bit too quiet, like you're trying to give a lot of story and that kind of thing. Like I love how in like certain games like Dead Space that they would have a mannequin that will pop out and you're like, oh wait, that's just a mannequin. And you like think, oh wow, I'm so super, and then all of a sudden an alien's like popping out there. You're like, why?
Oh yeah, dude, that's also the same in Control. Like there's a level where I don't want to call it non-Euclidean, but let's call it like weird geometry or architecture for the building, and there are these mannequins everywhere at like different angles and stuff. And I think you need to look for a specific one because it's one of the anomalies. And geez, dude, that freaked the heck out of me. But let's get to the main topic of the episode, which is mysteries. Now, I gave you some wiggle room to interpret that as you would for this episode, but I did ask you to make at least one of them a more supernatural kind. And I'm going to ask you to give that as your second answer. But
okay.
What's your experience with mysteries in general? Because I, for example, don't really find thrillers or mystery media that's interesting, but I do really enjoy listening to and about stories that happen in the real world. But for me, it's more interesting if it does have a bit of a supernatural vibe to it, because like human affairs happen all the time. But if it's supernatural, dude, and then you properly don't know what's going on, then I get my interest just peaks 100% then.
Well, similar to you, like if it has a supernatural, it puts the cherry on top of that tasty ice cream for me. Any mystery, being a engineer in heart, I'm a problem solver. So when I see a mystery, that's why I love playing mystery-based games. Like I played this one game called, I think it was Occult, and this game was purely like you're a detective, you need to solve crap, and nothing really supernatural. It was just like try to put the pieces of the puzzle and solve the mystery of certain situations. I really do enjoy, like we discussed before, the lore topics and that kind of stuff. But at some point, I'm almost at the point of skepticism, because there's only like after all those different photos of Bigfoot and we still haven't seen Bigfoot. I'm like, okay, guys, I'm at a level of skepticism, because either you are providing me with evidence, or you're providing me with fake evidence and you're putting us away from the truth. And that's when I stop to say, okay, you guys are pushing the extreme, because I in other words, I dislike it when those like people go stay in those haunted houses for the whole night, and then they come out and say, I feel so spooked, and they're like, okay, guys, this is not solving the mystery. This is just you trying to prove that you got the biggest kahunas.
Yeah, the big kahuna, the biggest kahuna.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to give me your first answer or your first mystery, or should I start it off here?
Yeah, I can give my first mystery, but I actually am interested in hearing your first mystery, because you have an idea of what I'm going to talk about, but I don't actually know what you're going to talk about.
Okay, so I'm going to give you guys probably my favorite mystery of all.
See you guys in half an hour.
So the mystery that I'm going to be presenting you guys is the Dyatlov Pass incident, which, to sum it up very briefly for you, there was this guy, Igor Dyatlov, who was a very experienced mountaineer and trekker, and he and a few other people, I think like a group of 10 or something, were all accomplished hikers and mountaineers, and they were studying together in a university in, I think, Russia. And Soviet checkers, 9 of them. And they went on a hike up the Ural Mountains in 1959. And for some reason, they all died or disappeared. And overnight, something caused them to cut their way out of their tent that they were camping in and flee the campsite while they were basically buck naked. And there was very heavy snowfall and sub-zero temperatures. Later, after weeks of searching, the bodies were eventually found. The Soviet authorities determined that 6 of them died because of hypothermia, and 3 had been killed by physical trauma. So that's something very intense and quick. 1 victim had major skull damage, 2 had severe chest trauma, and another one had a crack in his skull. 4 of the bodies were found lying in the running water by a creek. 3 of them had damaged soft tissue to the head and face. 2 of the bodies had missing eyes, 1 had a missing tongue, and 1 had missing eyebrows. The investigation concluded that a compelling natural force had caused the deaths. Now, so people aren't exactly sure what happened, but there are quite a few theories that have been put forward to account for all the unexplained deaths, ranging from animal attacks, hypothermia, an avalanche, katabatic winds, infrasound-induced panic, military involvement, or some combination of these. So I think there was even something about an indigenous tribe or something that could have done it. But Russia opened a new investigation just 3 years ago in 2019. And
really?
its conclusions were presented in July of 2020, saying that an avalanche led to the deaths. But I don't know.
How does a tongue get out of the avalanche? Is the guy sticking out his tongue going no, 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 and then the avalanche tears his tongue out of his hand?
Yeah, so that's what makes it so creepy. There were photographs by some of the hikers while they were doing the hike, and in the distance, kind of on the horizon of the snowfall or the snowy ground, you see there's a figure that looks like the shoulders and head of a very broad man that some people have speculated looks a bit like some kind of an indigenous tribe person, or could be something even like a yeti or whatever in the distance. But I definitely agree with you. The fact that people's eyes and eyebrows and tongue were missing.
That wouldn't make sense for an avalanche. I know avalanches have debris like rocks, twigs, and that kind of stuff. But if that was the case, finding the bodies in a mangled state, their bodies are their arms are broken the wrong way, to multiple fractures, that kind of stuff, that makes more sense. To me, this seems more like, you say, tribe, or I'm heavily leaning to your idea of being a military kind of involvement, because Putin is notorious for kind of getting certain people out of the way when he wants to. So that is not something that's hidden. It is interesting though.
Yeah, but this was in 1959, so I doubt Putin was in power back then. But anyway, there was still pretty dodgy stuff happening in the Soviet Union.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So, but I just think that it's definitely, well, this is just my interpretation, okay? But I think that it's definitely something that is of a ritual nature, just because of the missing eyes and the missing tongue.
Or it might just be an animal that comes by and says, I'm gonna see these people passed out because of hypothermia. I'm gonna eat what I can. Oh, this guy's got a fresh eyes. This guy's got a fresh tongue. And the eyebrow, don't ask me why a single eyebrow. Maybe a caterpillar came by. Thought it was a mate.
Yeah. So let me just give you a brief summary of the different theories out there, and then you can tell me which one you think is the most likely. So one of them was katabatic winds. Katabatic winds are somewhat rare events, and they're extremely violent. And apparently they can just, they would make it impossible to stay inside of the tent. And the most rational thing then would be for hikers to cover themselves and the tent with snow in order to get a bit of extra shelter. or to go towards the tree line. But there was nothing from the site per se that actually indicated that. Yeah, so that's not necessarily what I think would have happened, because they are like bivouac kind of shelters that people can make for themselves. Yeah, I don't think that would be the most likely answer. The second one is that there was infrasound that caused the group to panic. According to this theory, infrasound generated by the wind would have been responsible for causing a lot of discomfort and mental distress in the hikers. And so that they would basically just lost all sense and gone running buck naked through the woods. Another one is one that is a bit more compelling for me, and that is military tests, and it's specific with Soviet parachute mine exercises that were happening in the area. Now, this theory says that the hikers were woken by loud explosions and that they then fled the tent in a shoeless panic and later weren't able to find their way back again. Now, that's a bit more compelling to me, because if you run from what you think is basically a war zone and it's in the middle of like a snowstorm or something in the Ural Mountains, there's so little chance that you'll be able to find your way back to your tent. Like, you'll run for a minute and then you look behind you and your footsteps are gone.
No,
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of 3 and 2, to be honest. Not necessarily the bombing or the war, but I think maybe the military infrared signals makes more sense to me, because the fact is that the condition that the bodies were found, yes, there could have been, say, maybe a stray animal, but why would it leave so much, say, edible food or edible human meat? So I kind of liked the idea of the fact that the people were driven crazy by some external means. So, like, we all know that all militaries, not just Russian, Soviet Union militaries, they like to do certain tests, and what better to do certain tests on certain people that are going to be assumed killed mysteriously and cannot be solved. And the fact that the people were like driven crazy and run out of the tent for some stupid reason, and found one with missing tongue, one with a missing eyebrow, mutilated eyes, seems like they could have gone in a brawl. But again, we're making speculations because we don't know the full extent of those bodies that were found. Like, do we know that their hands were bleeding or that kind of stuff, or do we just know that they're just missing those specific parts and the rest of the body was fine? Then we know that they weren't driven crazy. It was more something else that happened.
Yeah, and another thing about the military stuff is that there was some like radioactive stuff that were found on their clothing, some residue. And,
that could be it.
Yeah, so people think that there were like radiological weapons that were being tested in the area. But
Possibly.
the last theory, which is also super
You said
interesting, I said a few.
Oh, jeez, I thought about it too.
The last one is paradoxical undressing, where when people experience hypothermia enough, their nerves become kind of confused about what's going on, and they actually think that they are really, really hot, like ridiculously burning up. And so this theory posits, because it is an actual phenomenon, that they undressed themselves because they thought that they were getting too hot. And then because they kind of fed the hypothermia, they died because of that.
Okay, interesting.
But I like to think that it's something like a
2 and 3.
Traditional culture or something. Or, yeah, but like a nomadic culture or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or the Yeti, because I do think that Bigfoot is out there.
And he needs a cousin.
Yeah. And we're better to hide than in the Ural Mountains.
True.
Okay, so what's your first one?
So my first one is more of a historic figure that probably everyone will know, because if you ever gone to a pool, you'll definitely have shouted this one game where one person would say, Marco, and then the next person would say,
Polo!
Yes, Marco Polo. So it's maybe a different kind of mystery to what your initial, compared to Jotun's story. The reason why I'm touching on Marco Polo is that, let me give you a brief background. So Marco Polo was one of the first few, I wouldn't say he's the first European, one of the first few Europeans to travel from Italy to Asia during the Mongolia Empire era. And there's a lot of skepticism according to his so-called journey across his journey towards, his travels between these two areas along the Silk Road. That was the trade route that was like established by the Mongolian Empire. And the reason why for all the skepticism is from his book. Jodson, I'm sure you may have come across his book or have heard the skepticism around Marco Polo's travels.
No, I've never heard of this Marco Polo mystery.
Oh,
I don't want to call it a conspiracy, but like I've never heard of this mystery before.
Oh, dude. So I'll give a brief background. So first off, I was inspired to look this up before, obviously, this episode because of the game called Uncharted 2, which dabbles into like the kind of like Marco Polo's travels. Not true, or maybe true, depending on how you want to say it. But it had enough lore in it that made me curious enough to really look it up and just see who this Marco Polo was really. And, jeez, dude, this guy was like amazing figuratively. So his travel started in, obviously, Italy. Then he traveled with his father and uncle at the age of 17 to the Mongolian Empire. And during this time, he came across, back in that day, it was like the 1300s. So it was still the Europeans never actually explored really outside of their zone of comfort. And these three people traveled along the Silk Road and were greeted by the Mongolian Empire, where the Khan accepted them with open arms, gave them like this tablet that they were allowed to go trading and explore freely, and everyone around them, if they saw this tablet, had to accommodate them like they were royalty. So they had a really amazing time. And this book that later, so after his time, the Khan getting older, because the Khan would protect these travelers, because they were very open-minded enough to kind of agree with this. So when he was getting older, coming to his time that he was about to pass away, some theories kind of speculate the fact that since the Khan knew his days were numbered, he kind of wanted to send his friends away before the next group take over, because they're more likely to kill any outsiders. And fortunately, they did leave. But by the time Marco Polo got back to his home in Venice, it was being taken over. A war was being waged, and Marco Polo was imprisoned for, I think, I can't remember how long, but he was imprisoned. And during his imprisonment, he met a person named Rooster de Pisa. Apologies, people, if I mispronounce Italian names. I am not Italian. And
Come on, Namaki. You must pronounce your Italian with proper zeal.
I'm sorry. But yeah, Rooster da Pisa was a book writer. So Marco Polo not much in the book writing, and so while they were both in prison, Marco Polo would regale his amazing tales of crossing during his travels, and Rooster would write in the book. Now this is where skepticism comes in, because Rooster was also was inspired by his own like mystical ways of writing said books. So this book wasn't like a fictional or a detailed report. It was more like a story with a protagonist and his escapades across these perilous lands and these perilous creatures. So you have to look at the story being written by two different people, one giving facts while the other person sprucing up some of the facts, because obviously who wants to read about people eating with wooden sticks in their hands called chopsticks? So like I say, so the book covers a lot of areas, like deserts that would pull people away and draw them into the desert to die, as well as unicorns that were somehow in Asia. And for quite a while, Marco Polo's book was frowned upon, to saying that he never made those journeys. It never happened. But later down the line, a lot more of his the details in the book were proven to be real or have some ground to stand on, because the desert that he was referring to, let me just refer to my book of deep notes and everything, was the sand dunes of Gobi Desert, which have the sound waves that when the sand of these dunes would move, would create these sound waves that sound like wailing ghouls or ghosts, which was pretty impressive. And the unicorns that he referred to in his book were rhinos, because back then they never came across a rhino, which is pretty interesting. And they found more and more of this proof. Now, that's a lot of back lore I'm giving you, but what I want to touch on is a mystery that even today we don't know the real truth to it. And that is I think it was the final, no, not the final journey. It was one of his journeys from the Mongolian Empire to his home, where he had 14 fleets of ships with 600 people, and these ships were filled with like the finest silk, filled with valuable treasures and all this kind of stuff. And by the time he got to his destination, he was left with one ship and, let me just consult my notes, 18 people. What the heck happened to that fleet and all those people? And Marco Polo did not say a word in his report, not just in the book, in his report of what happened. That he started out with 14 fleets, 600 people, and only arrived with one vessel with 18 people. And the reason is, well, what I say is a very interesting mystery, is that something happened in that journey. Maybe a maelstrom or something supernatural happened. And what happened to all that treasure? Because that must be a lot of treasure. Like the silk could probably have been drifted away or deteriorated. But those boats, that treasure, that kind of stuff doesn't just disappear. And one of like Marco Polo's final words on his deathbed, he mentioned the fact that he only told half of what he saw. So this man must have come across something really, in my opinion, something supernatural. And part of it was inspired by the Uncharted 2, where I think they encounter Shangala or Shambhala. Jotun, help me here. Is it Shambhala or
Shangri-La?
Shangri-La, yes. So some people.
It's so fun listening to you trying to say these names.
I always have you to save my ass. But yes, that is that's the mystery of Marco Polo, where a lot of it, obviously, his book is full of like mysteries that you can like say, look, is this real? But to me, that those vessels and people just disappeared, and no one really raised an eyebrow was a bit weird to me, at least, because something must have happened. What happened to those boats? It just like disappeared? Was it and the report just stated like Marco Polo looked depressed when he arrived with his single vessel and only 18 people. That is just like weird. Like that is real weird. Like, was there a kraken that came up and sucked them down? So many speculations. Such an interesting man, though.
Yeah. No, Marco Polo was something else, eh?
Yeah,
I must say.
Jeez, and apparently his book is very boring to read, but his journey, like I recommend whoever listens to this, just watch a simple YouTube video of Marco Polo's journey to the Empire. It's actually a very interesting tale, and it's really well documented now. That's why I think it's just like, it's maybe not the kind of the mystery that Jotun was going for, but it's definitely a mystery that like plagues my mind, is saying, did these vessels really disappear? What happened to the gold? What happened to this? Maybe the octopi came up.
Well, it's definitely interesting that there's no record of that, because granted you're working with such large sums of money, there would be something about it. Like Marco Polo himself is very well known for his meticulous records of absolutely everything that he was doing on his journey, including like learning different languages and the cultural traditions of different peoples. And now you're telling me that when all this money is on the line, he suddenly doesn't have anything to say about that. That's very dicey, my friend.
Yeah, like, did he bury the treasure? Did something happen, like a volcano? It's like, these men with so many things. Like, I go to bed some nights and I'm thinking, man, if I could find out where this treasure is hidden. Because I think that he stopped by somewhere. Maybe some tribe took over and stole their eyes and tongues and eyebrow and hid the treasure somewhere.
Maybe. I think it's far more likely that he took it to some little bay or a little cove, and yeah, basically just smuggled it away.
Possible.
Burn the ships afterwards.
100% could be possible. But 600 people, that's a lot of people to go through back in that day. That was like a proper like army. Like, what the heck happened there? But yeah.
It's easy, man. You just cut them a slice of the profits and they all keep quiet. Start a new life in Cambodia or something. Okay, so Mackie raises me Marco Polo. Do you want to give your supernatural one first, or should I?
Let me give my supernatural. My voice is warmed up. I think I'm ready to, and you can hear my paper turning. I'm prepped and ready to regale you all with my fabulous tales.
Ooh, nail biter. Okay.
So this is a story that when I did my research, was actually very interesting to me. Again, going back to the fabulous country of Italy. Yes, Italy. Sorry, Italy.
Italia.
Italia, thank you. So, Jotun, you probably have heard of this because you've actually traveled the world quite a bit more than I have. Have you heard of the Island of Death called Poveglia Island? Poveglia Island. Poveglia. I think that's how you pronounce it. So you haven't heard of this island before?
Never.
So this island's got a dark history. Probably one of the darkest place in, say, in Europe. Some people claim that, but I can't speculate because I only know very little bit about the countries. I'm horrible at geography, people, okay? Forgive me. But yes, this island has a very dark history behind it. So in the pre-era, during the plague or the Black Death, was it the Black Death, right? Or it is Black Death.
Yeah.
So the Black Death, if you guys don't know, it was like rampant around Europe. And this island was basically contamination zone. So anyone that suspected, not just having the disease, anyone who suspected were sent to this island and left to die, and eventually burnt to the ground. Because again, the best way for them to destroy the disease was to burn and destroy everything involved with the disease. Rats, clothing, everything involved with it. And so this island became a colony for the quarantine, and it was a death sentence. No one was coming out. They were done. And over 100,000 lives were lost during that time, it's bonkers. And this island is not the biggest. I don't actually know the exact size. I don't have it in my notes in front of me. But then in the 1800s, this island then became a mental institution or an asylum of sorts. And it's just like, why do this kind of thing? But hey, people in the past, they've done some crazy things. So they would send the mentally deranged to this island, and a bit like Outlast the game.
Before you go forward, doesn't the word deranged just sound so hardcore? It just sounds like such a rough word.
Oh, it so does. 100%. Like anyone called, you're so deranged. Like I actually think that's a word that people say. You're so deranged, like they're like evil, tricked the mind, like they're smart.
Like frothing at the mouth, basically.
Yeah, but they're smart, but they're also like evil, and they enjoy that evilness. Like you're pretty deranged. You're small but deranged. I know you got that little piece of deranged in you.
Oh, thank you.
But yes, so in the 1800s, it became a mental institution or asylum. And because, again, Italy were not like the most in like actually rehabilitating these people or bringing these people back to civilization, they left these people to death. And they had a doctor in this asylum who would freely do all his test subjects, or all the patients were test subjects to him. So like in Outlast, experiments were done where like their brains were like experimented on, their skulls were fractured open, crazy things would happen. So this was like a really bad, this island is just like a black spot in Italy's amazing scenery. And after a while, the doctor killed himself off the bell tower by jumping into suicide because he claimed that ghosts haunted him to madness. Ghosts. Like there was not enough death involved with the stupid island. So now, in current day, this island, anyone can go visit it, provided if you can find a willing person to transport you by boat to this island. And it's got such bad juju that this island, that this, like, no one wants to talk about it, or no one actually wants to go to this island. It has so much black, like, dark spots on it that 50% of the island is actually made of human remains. That's how disgustingly bad this place. And
Oh, jeez, dude.
50, not 50% of the soil is human remains. That is just absolutely horrible.
How small is that island?
Jeez, dude, I'll do some research when you're giving your side, but the thing is, like, there's no natural light coming into the island. Like, if you go into the island, there's no natural light because the vegetation has just gone rampant. It's covered completely by trees, vines. The silent buildings are still there, and people have, like, mentioned the fact, like, just being in the presence of there's definitely something supernatural. And because of that amount of death, distraughtness, evil things that happen on that small little island, it's almost like a radioactive zone of, like, evil spirits. Because, like, I can imagine if I was at that island and probably not knowing it, I probably would feel like something's not right. Like, something's very off. Like, I know me and you, we like to explore some areas, but like, when you come across an abandoned building, you always get that, like, feeling like, this is a bit weird. But I feel like if we went to that island, irrespective of, like, what's happening, we would feel like, hey, something is really not right about this island. Oh man, it gives me the chills just speaking about it. Definitely check it out.
Yeah. No, dude. Really like that kind of. Okay, well, tell me, do you think that the emotions of people can, like, make like a bad juju place?
With that amount of death and, like, the amount of, like, evil acts that were done on a certain part of, like, an island, that kind of thing, I think yes, because you taint the area around you. Like, if you're like a kind person who respects nature and that kind of stuff, you generally see quite a bit of, like, proper care and just, like, positivity. But the amount of, like, bad history about this place, like, this place was purely a dumping ground. There's, like, something really off-putting, like, something in our nature that will, like, come across this place and feel that there's something wrong. And that's why this island's also not just the island of death, it's also called the island of ghosts, because they know that something is not right about this island.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like there's something pathological about the place.
Yeah, and like I say, if you try to get, like, you have to convince the people to kind of bring you to this island, because there's no cell reception there. So say, like, you get a boat ride there, and then if you spend too much time there, you're just stuck there for the night. Oh my gosh, I would swim for the city. But apparently it's 18 acres, triangle shape. I don't know. 3 miles south of Venice, Italy.
Oh, really?
Italia.
So close by.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
how crazy it is.
I've been in Venice a few times, but I've never heard of that island before.
Oh, dude, I'm not surprised because it's bad juju to even speak about it. Dude, this place is, like, seriously bad juju. Oh my gosh, like, when I did my research, I'm like, well, at least I know the place that I'm not going to go visit.
Yeah. Like, there are many places on the to visit list, but not the stick away or, like, stay away list.
100%, yeah.
Okay, well, that was pretty interesting. I didn't even know about, like, it's really surprises me that I've been to Venice a few times, gotten all the touristy kind of tours, and they didn't even say anything about that. When we went there, it was all about, like, the glass blowing island and stuff like that.
No, 100%. It's, like I say, it's a real black spot in Italy's history, and all Italians know about it, but they know that they don't involve themselves with that. They don't speak about it. They don't go to it. They know that island exists, but no one will touch it with, like, because, like, I saw a video where the guy had to be literally convinced, like, if you pay me this amount of money, I will take you there, but I'm not going on that island for peanuts. And I'll pick you up in 2 hours. If you're not there, I'll leave you on that island because I'm not coming back a third time. It is crazy weird. Like, you know, something's off about an island with that, it's like it's there and everyone knows about it. Oh no, that's like a proper Cthulhu story. That like maybe we should make a game about that, because that actually would be pretty interesting and kind of a game to dabble in the history.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That was a really awesome supernatural thing. And I've also got a heavy hitter here for you today. My one isn't a specific place, but it's it's got to do with a widespread phenomenon that basically all people experience. Now, have you ever been in like a room by yourself, watching a TV, or you're reading a book or something, and you just see something flip by in the side, like the corner of your vision, something
many
dark
times.
and kind of man-shaped.
Oh, many
And
times.
you look there and there's nothing there. But
Ugh.
then a little bit, like 5 minutes go by, and you get that feeling again of like the hair on your neck sticking up a little bit, and you feel like you're being watched, and then you look there again and it's not there, but you did see something dark over there. Now, these like weird dark figures that people see are commonly known as shadow people. And that's my second one.
Oh.
They are cuck scary, and they really, really make people who experience them extremely uncomfortable. But people don't exactly know what they are. It's up for debate as to what exactly that is. Now, descriptions of this kind of like shadowy dark people have appeared in folklore and religious texts throughout the course of human history. Some are known as jinn from Islamic theology, and there are other things in medieval and Native American things as well. But some people think that it has something to do with a fear of the dark, and probably that their eyes are playing tricks on them when there's a low lighting room, or then such a setting. And so they think that, or they're commonly attributed to like a jacket hanging on the door, something like that. But what exactly are they? Now, some psychics have said that they are often thought of as ghosts or a collection of negative imagery, and that it's definitely something paranormal that has no exact answer. And the same psychic said that shadow people can appear in different forms, and that they might even indicate that someone is under a physical attack. Many experts theorize that there could be a link between shadow people and extraterrestrial life, and that they could be otherworldly in origin, or that they can be somehow connected to like abduction events. But I think that it has something to do with a darker nature. I think that it has something to do with actual malevolent spiritual forces that I say this a lot about folklore and mythology and paranormal events, and that's that if you give it attention and you believe in it, then it gets stronger. And yeah, and I think that specifically shadow people are fed by you being afraid and aware of them. And so if you notice something in the corner of your vision and you like look there and you feel something creeping up your back, or like the hairs on your neck rise, and you get freaked out by that, then I think that you're just inviting, or you're feeding that presence. But I've heard that the best remedy for shadow people is to basically just to laugh and enjoy yourself, because then you're giving them no attention and you're focusing on something that gives you good energy and good vibes. But other people, the more scientific community, thinks that it has something to do with sleep paralysis. Now, I do give a lot of credit to sleep paralysis in general, but I don't think it's very likely that, okay, it is likely that you might be watching something on the sofa and have sleep paralysis.
Yeah, it's possible.
Just because it's not always when you're in like a sleeping setting, you know, or even a dozing setting. I think that is a less likely thing. But again, it doesn't have to be something that completely makes you lose your shit. All you have to do when you see a shadow person is to do something fun or something that lifts your spirits a little bit. And that's different for every kind of person. But yeah, it creeps me out, dude. Sometimes if I get freaked out like that, I genuinely have to like close all the curtains. Don't ever look at what's outside. Don't look at any reflective surfaces like a mirror or anything like that. No, dude. You gotta keep things happy. Switch on light if you need to, dude. What do you think?
That touches on the fact exactly why I was saying that bad juju in a way is real, because like that, it's bad juju. Where, like, guys, this is purely non-scientific, science-based, but science has yet to explain everything in said universe, so this is plausible. But, like, that's why, like, in Halloween and that kind of stuff, we make fun, we have laughs, because these scary things we know are scary, and they put fright in our hearts. And myself and Jotun, we admitted that we enjoy the fright and scares, but these scary things, like, as you say, laughter or finding the lighter side of things is like the way forward, the way to find your sword of light to break through the said darkness. Like, there's been times where, like you said, where this darkness just like, whoa, what the heck is that? Like, I have like almost like a sixth sense. I say this like a sixth sense when like people walk behind me, my whole back like goes into like, whoa, something's behind me situation. And I won't lie that I've had that sixth sense activate and I look behind me and there's no one behind me. I'm like, okay, that's creepy. That's something's way off. And like you say, I think about the positive things. I think of the light that I have inside me, and I'm able to break through that like darkness or that feeling of dread that just suddenly came over me. And your mind's a powerful thing.
Yeah, it definitely is. I really do think it has something to do with energy and belief. Yeah.
100%. The mind is so powerful that I heard of a story where a guy was trapped in the back of a freezer van and he froze to death due to hypothermia. And when his body was found, he was frozen. But when they checked the van was on, like the freezer was on, it was off. The man thought so hard that he was freezing, he was cold, he was freezing to death. But that was because he put it into his mind that he was obviously cold. So his body accumulated for that. So your mind is a powerful thing. Don't underestimate it.
Yeah, dude. Jeez. But like, I feel that widespread phenomena that are experienced by most people, or like there's definitely something to do, like something happening there. And yeah, it's ridiculous. But anyway, everyone, that was our mysteries for the day, or the month, I guess, because we're recording this in October. And yeah, we hope that you guys all enjoyed it. Mackie, I definitely found your topics interesting because I didn't know about the whole Marco Polo thing.
Likewise.
And yeah, so how can everybody tell us who they think was better? Like superior, the apex, the top dog, the big kahuna, as you put it.
That is very easy, and probably the best way is to go to our Discord channel. Again, find the link in the descriptions of pretty much everything. Any podcast platform like Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, any other podcast. I forgot all the names for them. There you'll find our Discord in the description, most likely if they allow for descriptions. And join us and share whatever scary stories you might have. And feel free to share those ideas on YouTube as well, because we'll be happy to respond to them when we get an opportunity. But Discord is the best way to find us. And again, guys, if this episode made you feel spooky and you want to find something positive like that sort of light I mentioned before, listen to another episode of Ramble Shamble that you can find that have a lot more positive side of things. Maybe you want to get a bit of irritation, like irritating things. Because that episode makes me feel like I want to like punch something. This episode makes me want to hide under a blanket. But again, guys, we try to post as regularly as possible on every Thursday. But again, guys, your comments and ideas are very valuable for us because Ramble Shrapnel depends on it. And Yotin will explain why.
Yes, everyone. So we take our favorite comment or whatever the community upvotes the most in either the Discord or on YouTube. And we talk about that just completely off the cuff for about 15 to 20 minutes. Just to delve a little bit deeper into a topic associated with the main episode that perhaps we didn't have the time to cover, or that you guys think would be a better answer to one of the questions presented in the episode. So for example, today it was just a general mystery case and a supernatural mystery. And if you have something that you think is a little bit more interesting than ours, or perhaps greatly so, then let us know and we'll talk about that for a while. So everybody, thank you for joining us today. We hope that we gave you guys a bit of a riveting thriller of an episode and that you learned something as well, like we did. And keep well. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.